All right, in Game Lab number 11, we're going to work on taking an object, getting into the game screen program, and then moving it. And we're going to move it 4 different ways. So this is going to be 4 programs. They'll be fairly short. We're going to move it left to right, right to left, top to bottom, and bottom to top. Here's a quick run through. Here I am in the Game Lab. I'm going to go ahead and rename this first one, and I'm going to call it left to right. I'll save that name. I'm going to the animation tab. I'm going to add an animation, and I'm just going to use this apple, this red apple right here. The name of it over here on the left hand side, Red Apple 1, is okay with me, so I'm just going to leave it. I'll go back to the code block or the code side of the Game Lab. Now I need to define my variable here, so I'm going to bring over the create sprite and the set animation, and those go above the draw loop. I'm going to call it Apple. And on this first movie, I'm going to work on making it go from left to right. So for the beginning place, the starting spot, the starting position of the apple, I'm going to want it to be over 0 and down 200. That should put it right over here at the left-hand edge. I have to call this apple to make it match, and I want it to look like that red apple. Now let's check something out very quickly. I'm going to bring over a background command and a draw sprites, and I'm just going to run that. All right, and I see where the apple is, and you see how big it is. For me, that's a little too big. I don't want it that big. When you do your programs, I don't really care that much how big the object is, but I don't want it that big. All right, so I'm going to sprites, and I'm going to bring over a sprite.scale, drop it right up in here, right above the draw loop, and I'm going to say apple because that's what I named my variable. And I'm going to put 0.3 for the scale, and now it does that. All right, so it's over on the left-hand side, and it's a size that I'm happy with, and it's not moving, but I'm about to solve that problem. This is the part that you have to catch. All right, to make it move from left to right, that's going to be an x-axis motion. It's going to move along the x-axis. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring over a sprite.x block and drop it right in here. There's a hole here. There's a lot of ways I could do this. I'll do it this way this time. I'm going to the math drawer, and I'm going to bring over a plus block, and I'll drop it right in the second hole. Now I'm going back to sprites, and I'll bring over another sprite.x and drop it in the middle hole. So look at how this is set up. It says sprite.x equals sprite.x plus, and then there's another empty hole there. I'm going to fix that in a minute. I can't leave this as sprite. That has to say apple because that's the name of my variable that I have up here, so it has to match. That's going to be apple right there. And then I can add pretty much any number I want here. I'll start off with a 2. All right, so let's reset this and run it. The apple's moving. Now, the thing that we have to kind of catch, and I'm going to hit reset to stop the program, the thing we have to kind of catch is how this command right here works. This says apple.x equal apple.x plus 2. Computers kind of read equations backwards. Whenever we see an equal sign, in fact, to us as human beings, this equation looks like it's written backwards. With the answer being over on the left and the adding going over here on the right. But computers kind of read them that way. What they'll do, a computer will look over here and say, okay, I'm supposed to take apple.x and add 2. Well, okay, what is the x coordinate of the apple to begin with? Look up here, it's 0. So the way the computer reads this is 0 plus 2 equals, and then it stores the answer to that math problem right over here. Now notice that those match though. So what's really happening here is that the value of the x coordinate, the value of the x coordinate is constantly being updated. It's being increased by 2 every time through the loop. And when I run it, the apple gets moved over by 2 pixels every time through the loop. Now, what if you wanted it to go faster? Well, just increase this number. What if I said 10 instead of 2? The apple goes faster. Now, one thing when you do your versions of this assignment, don't put a huge number like 500, 900, 1,000, 5,000. Don't do that because the apple will move so fast that it will just disappear immediately, and I want to be able to see it move when I run your program. When I hit run, I want to watch it move. I want to, now you can make it move fast as long as I can see it. I want to be able to see it. All right, I can see this move. Okay, so that's the left to right version. Our next version of it is going to be right to left. So here's what I'm going to recommend that we do. I'm not going to like rebuild the whole thing. I'm going to come up to the top and I'm going to do a remix. Give it a second. I'm going to do a rename. I'm going to get in here and call this right to left, and I'll save that name. Then I'm just going to make some changes on the code that I already have. I'm going to, instead of starting it over 0 and down 200, I'm going to start it over 400 and down 200. Think about that now. That's all the way over to the right side and halfway down. So it's going to be sitting over here on the right-hand side. I'm going to use the same apple. I'm going to use the same scale. But here's the thing. If I run this right now, I don't know if you can see that. I'll do it a couple of times. The apple's over there, but it kind of runs off in the wrong direction. And here's why, in case you haven't figured it out. If I take that X location of the apple and I add 10 to it, well, it's moving it to the right. So it's kind of moving it off the game screen immediately. So what we really need to do is we either need to change this so it's apple.x minus 10, or what would be another way to do that? Apple.x plus a negative 10. Wouldn't that work? So let's just go negative 10 right there. And let's run that. And now you see that the apple goes from right to left. Perfect. Now these are unending programs right now. It's an endless loop. It's just going and going and going. And so you have to hit the reset button to actually stop the program. All right, so we got the right to left kind of thing working. Now let's think about top to bottom. All right, well, that's going to mean another remix and another rename. You're going to have to turn in 4 links, right? There's going to be 4 programs, 4 links. Submit them all. All right, so here's a and I'm going to change this from top to bottom, and I'll save that name. All right, now again, I'm going to use the same apple. I still want it to look like that red apple. I'm going to use the same scale, but it is going to start in a new place. I want it to start up at the top. So what I'm thinking there is that I'm going to make it go over 200 and down 0. That should be halfway over and not down any at all. It should be sitting at the top. That's good. That's what I want. Here's the next thing I have to take into account. If I want this to fall down the screen, I want it to start up here at the top and fall down the screen, that is no longer an x-axis kind of thing. That is a y-axis kind of thing. Now I could pull this entire purple block out of the draw loop. I could pull it out and I could rebuild the whole thing if I wanted to. Or we could go way over here to the right to where it says show text. Click there. And then just come back. This gives us a text version of the program, of course, and I could just go, so, okay, I don't want those to be x's anymore. I don't want it to be apple.x anymore. I want it to be apple.y. So I'm just going to use things like the arrow key and the backspace key, and I'm just going to use the keyboard, right? I'll just make that an apple.y. Now, this is where one of the things, and you may have to, I mean, if you get it wrong, then fix it, but if I wanted to go from top to bottom, is that going to be plus a negative 10 or plus a positive 10? I'm going to try positive. I'm going to take that negative sign off. Now, when you've done some simple editing like that, all I did was change the x's to y's, and I changed the 10 to it was a negative 10. I changed it to a positive 10. I'm going to go back and show blocks again and bring it back to being blocks, which I wouldn't have to do. And I'm going to run that. And we get an apple that falls from the top to the bottom. It starts at the top. I set its starting position. And then I created this little phrase right in here that makes it go down the y-axis 10 pixels at a time, and you could try a different number if you want to. We only have one more to write. Remix, rename. And sorry, got in a hurry there. Remix, rename, and this one's got to go bottom to top. Save that name. All right, let's think about our starting position if we want to begin at the bottom and go to the top. I think that over 200 and down 400 should put us at that's over 200 and down 400, and that should put us at the bottom of the screen at the beginning, right? And then in this case, it's still going to be a y-axis thing, but I think all I have to do is come in here and change that to a negative 10. instead of a positive 10. And let's check it to make sure it works. Does it go up the screen? Sure does. So I have just written 4 programs, left to right, right to left, top to bottom, bottom to top. That is your challenge, your mission, your goal. And now it is it's your turn. Let's go do it.